Think about it. Your brain is the most powerful, most complex piece of equipment on the planet. But it doesn't exactly come with an instruction manual, does it? Well, what if it did? Turns out scientists have been putting that manual together piece by piece. And a lot of what we think we know about our own minds, it's just plain wrong. So let's crack open the real user's guide to your brain. Okay, let's start with the big one. I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 times, right? In movies, maybe from a friend, this idea that 90% of our brain is just this untapped potential, just sitting there. But is there any truth to it? No, not a chance. It is one of the biggest, most stubborn myths out there. The reality? Brain scans show us clear as day that we use pretty much every single part of our brain every single day. So, now that we've got that out of the way, let's dig into the real rules of how your brain operates. All right, first up, memory. Most of us think of our memory like a perfect little video camera just recording our life experiences. But that's not how it works at all. In fact, your memory is way more like a creative storyteller. See, we imagine memory is like finding a file on a computer and hitting play. But the reality is so much cooler and messier. Every single time you remember something, your brain doesn't just retrieve it, it rebuilds it from scratch. It pulls together bits and pieces of information and reconstructs the event right there on the spot. And here's where it gets kind of wild. Because it's a reconstruction, details can get changed. They can get a little fuzzy, or new details can even get woven in. This is why you and a friend can remember the exact same event in totally different ways. It also means false memories are not just possible, they're actually pretty common. Your brain can literally convince you that you experienced something that never ever happened. Okay, let's turn the page in our manual to the chapter on attention. We all live in this world where multitasking is like a badge of honor, right? Juggling a dozen tabs, your email, your phone. But your brain's operating manual has a very, very strict rule about this. So here's the secret. Multitasking is a myth. It doesn't actually exist. What you're really doing is something called task switching. Your brain is just bouncing from one thing to another incredibly quickly. It feels like you're doing it all at once, but it's an illusion. And it's an illusion that comes with a pretty big price tag. And here is that price tag. A 40% drop in your efficiency. That's huge. Every time your brain has to switch gears, you lose focus and momentum. Just think about that. You're getting 40% less done. That's the hidden cost. Every time you check your phone while you're trying to work on something important. But here's the really fascinating twist. While deep focus is critical, so is unfocus. That's right. When your mind wanders off, when you're daydreaming, your brain isn't being lazy. It's actually doing incredibly important work, making new connections, solidifying what you've learned, and sparking those amazing aha moments of creativity. Okay, next chapter, decisions. We all like to think of ourselves as logical people, right? Carefully weighing the pros and cons before making a choice. But the truth is, most of the time, our brain is just running on autopilot, using these invisible mental shortcuts to get through the day. And here are 3 of its absolute favorites. Confirmation bias, that's your brain actively looking for information that proves you're right and ignoring anything that suggests you might be wrong. The anchoring effect is why the first price you see on a car suddenly becomes the baseline for the entire negotiation. And loss aversion, well, that's why the pain of losing $20 feels so much stronger than the joy of finding $20. These little shortcuts are running our lives, and we don't even see it happening. Now we get to what I think is the most exciting, most empowering part of this entire manual, neuroplasticity. For a really long time, scientists thought our brains were basically fixed once we became adults. We now know that's completely wrong. Think of your brain less like hardware and more like software that you can update and rewrite anytime you want. So, how do you do it? Well, it's actually kind of simple. Every time you learn a new skill, or even just think a new thought, specific brain cells, your neurons, fire off a signal together. And the more they fire together, the stronger their connection gets. They literally build a new physical pathway in your brain. It's how habits, both good and bad, are formed. I really want you to let this sink in because it is the most important rule in the whole manual. This isn't something that just happens when you're trying to learn to play the guitar. It's happening right now as you listen to this. Every single thought you have, every little experience, is physically reshaping the structure of your brain. You are, quite literally, the architect of your own mind. So, there you have it. We've busted the myths and looked at the real rules for your memory, your attention, your decisions, and the incredible fact that you can rewire the whole thing. You've basically just been handed the user's guide. The only question is, what are you going to do with it? What's the first thing you're going to change?